Let's roll around and get a start at Atlas.
Here
It's
we
SKT
go.
Griffin. We bigged it up last time and it let us down. Maybe today's the day, just like Jin-Air yesterday, where there's some magic in the air for some sick League of Legends.
Exactly right. Galio going to the first ban here, up against Lehens, just to make sure that he's not on that engage support champion option. As SKT have started things off. Griffin gonna get rid of the Lucian, and we were discussing this earlier on today, and the priority of Lucian and Ezreal. I think that Lucian's a little bit high. You think that Ezreal's a little bit high. I think both of them are absolutely deadly in the hands of both Teddy and Viper. Viper has been spamming it in solo queue. Vladimir going to be banned away from him though.
As a blue side ban, and this is a champion that Khan performed on very recently. The bans here are much harder to read than in other series because there's no must-ban champions for Griffin or SKT. They are both really strong teams with really strong confidence in their players, so it's much more about what kind of style are we putting together rather than let's keep this guy off this pick. That's why I'm so interested to understand how these teams are approaching the draft. I think when SKT have been at their best, it's been early to mid-game, strong jungler and a clear performance they can play through, and punishing teams trying to scale. But there's teams trying to scale, and there's Griffin who seem to just decide what each and every game is about at every moment of the game. It always seems in the palm of their hands outside of a game against Sandbox and a game against Hanwha Live. And they won that game against Hanwha Live in amazing fashion with a pentakill. The Jace will be the final ban here. Going to probably have to be a permaban even towards Swords, given how strong it is on 9.4.
Well, he's also his second most played as well.
It is, and when we look at first picks, there's a lot of different ways the draft can go. Obviously, Griffin have a lot of undefeated picks. When it comes to must-contest picks, Zoe, for example, available. They're looking for comfort on Mata, and Mata has been a little bit up and down this season. He's definitely got some criticism. He's 4-0 on Braum, his only big multiple undefeated champion, and it's kind of notable to me that it's over something like the Tom Kench, which might actually fall through the draft.
Well, at the moment, it's going to be the answering support pick in the Shen going over to Lehens as LeBlanc was being considered, but Tarzan thinking about picking away the Lee Sin. Certainly a lot of options here for Griffin in the second round, but still a lot of power picks. And if you've been having a look at the solo queue for the solo laners of both of these teams, there are a lot of contested champions that can flex between both top and mid lane. Is don't do it to me, Faker. I know he's been playing so much of it.
You're not going to first
solo
round
queue.
It's actually a really bad first round with Shen already locked in here, but it's a great hover because Faker, of course, notably had played a lot of it.
Here we go.
He's going to jump on his LeBlanc. This is a matchup that is tending towards Zoe recently. We had it played at a very high level yesterday. And Zoe was able to win out there. It was considered a counter pick by me and many analysts, even LCK mids talking to them towards the end of the offseason, but feels like played at 100%. If you hit all your bubbles, you win, and Chovy and Faker are players who can have incredibly high expectations around. It's a great matchup. I want to notice, though, and call out that before all this happened, the hovers from Tarzan. His hovers were including LeBlanc and Lee Sin, the two champions that SKT locked in. Tarzan is praised by basically everyone in Korea as the biggest brain player possible, and he made sure to call out the SKT picks before SKT even knew that's what they wanted.
Well, we're going to go with a bit of a Shen delivery system as Nocturne is locked in. Tarzan's Nocturne as well. Remember, he got a double kill with an Umbra Blades proc. So this guy is not messing around. His Nocturne is terrifying. Griffin now moving into the second ban phase. Where are they going to be focusing? Because no AD carries picked up just yet. Still a lot on the table and a lot that's viable at this particular stage of the meta. So it may not even be looking there. We might be heading towards top side, but Ashe is going to leave. Currently above 60% win rate. In solo queue, a lot of players been using her to great effect recently.
My more interesting question is, what is SKT's blind pick top going to be? Because I think that's Griffin's call, right? Sin can't actually perform on the carries, and the right way to approach a red side draft on paper, for me at least, with how SKT's been playing, and of course Griffin have had their feet up watching all these teams play many best of threes, is to just give him a chance to blind pick something. And right now, they're not banning Fiora, they're not banning Yorick, they're leaving those sort of picks open here, and that is definitely an interesting gambit to play when Khan has been in really good form.
Yeah, and now that the Rise is being banned, actually, it draws the attention to the fact that he wasn't picked up in that first round. We've seen him heavily contested in recent weeks, and also a fantastic flex pick. They decided to go with the LeBlanc on the SKT side, so we are going to be seeing the mid lane come out of Faker very early, so that flexibility in this draft isn't necessarily there for either team. as Zoe is locked in mid as well.
I see the Ashe and Varus, and I think the Sivir priority might actually be pretty high for Viper. Sivir's really strong into Griffin's comp, so I would actually like it on the Griffin side as kind of a denial pick, but you could also just go for power. Varus, Ashe, some of the strongest laning AD carries and bans, or Caitlyn actually has lost a lot of her compositional answers outside of a crazy Draven pick, but these are all champs that need to be considered. I imagine Griffin take their AD carry here, and they will go Kai'Sa, despite not necessarily having that much hard lockdown on the team. It's a little bit surprising to see the Kai'Sa priority, and I think that means Sivir for SKT.
Yeah, it's a pretty obvious one here. We will be getting that AD carry matchup, but as far as the Sivir lane is concerned, this is pretty free for SKT. Shen's not going to do a whole lot in the early game, and Kai'Sa as well until she gets those evolutions. It's not going to be Sivir, it's going to be the Tristana that we've been seeing finding a lot more success recently worldwide.
But this is the hype moment. The blind top lane matchup between two old friends. Khan and Sword are really long-time real-life friends. The blind pick, top lane pick might actually end up being ultra-conservative. If it does end up being Aatrox, they ban Fiora, which is the strongest laning matchup into it. I don't think we're going to see a Riven top. Sorry, a Vayne top from Sword, but he's practicing Riven.
Yeah.
Of all players, you would not think of Sword as a Riven player. He has been practicing it, and there's a lot of overlap between Aatrox and Riven. What's the choice here? You could try to take Sion and just go for the most picked here and grin and bear it, and you do have Kai'Sa to profit from that. But I'm so interested to see Sword's approach.
Wow.
And actually, he goes for an oldie, but not necessarily considered a goodie on patch 9.4.
Remember the last time we saw Griffin?
Exactly.
It was a patch ago, so maybe...
Wow.
That does seem a little bit like they missed a memo, but okay, we're going to get 9.4 Urgot. He's copped a lot of abuse as far as the balance team is concerned.
It was actually a bigger nerf, I think, than most people appreciate. The double nerf on the shield is actually huge.
Yeah.
Really takes away the validity of that ability. But it seems like they want a team fight. It seems like Griffin want to have the ability to pop that ultimate, and we surprisingly get Aatrox versus Urgot top. I always was a fan of the Aatrox. I felt like played at 100%. The priority that the Aatrox could get meant a lot. And now Urgot can't shrug off damage as well. So Aatrox should be theoretically be stronger in this matchup than ever before. But a peculiar decision to roll it back.
Well, CV Max and Zephyr are going to bump heads as they shake hands. Those are going to be your team compositions. Certainly some eyebrows to be raised on the top side of the map, but elsewhere, it's incredibly exciting. Tarzan's Nocturne, of course, wants to scale to level 6, very Tarzan style. Lee Sin from Clid, definitely one of the cleanest Lee Sins in the world at the moment. And Zoe versus LeBlanc, Faker versus Chovy. Incredibly exciting mid lane matchup, and Faker has a lot to prove because we know the whispers. Everyone's saying, is Chovy the new Faker? Well, now's the time to put his money where his mouth is.
I actually look at it the other way. I think Chovy still has it all to prove because Faker will always be Faker, and Chovy's legacy is growing.
Yeah.
Yes, people are whispering about that, but the haters will be straight out there if Faker jumps back on and pulls out a big performance. Zoe versus LeBlanc, it's a skill matchup at worst, a really fun one to watch in the mid lane. We're excited to see why Urgot again. Maybe we'll see through the course of Game 1.
Exactly right. The bottom lane as well is going to be a fiery one. Let's get into it. Game 1, Griffin versus SKT. Okay, no guys, don't worry. This isn't the LPL. We are actually on patch 9.4. It's just they've still decided that Aatrox versus Urgot is a matchup in this game that we should be playing.
We had a single Urgot in recent memory. Didn't look great. So as play it over in the LEC, didn't look great. So yes, the ultimate is still super high value. The team fighting around Urgot will be strong, but definitely going to be giving up some lane control to make that happen. It's not like his jungler will be attentive. It's a Nocturne, so this is much more about combos. And if you remember back, Atlas, when Griffin came into the LCK for the first time in summer of last year, their first defining strategy was Nocturne Shen. They played a lot of Nocturne Shen and was super good at pulling the trigger. It always feels like Griffin are razor sharp at knowing when the moment is to start a fight, both in terms of scaling and also in terms of just winning a 3v3 or a 4v4. But the reality is Tarzan's going to be on farming duty, and Clid, who can also take the level 6 route, is someone who might just end up getting a free chance to find his man, and Clid gets going. Usually so do SKT.
Yeah, and we'll see whether SKT is going to be able to use this jungle advantage in the early game to get some pressure, especially around this lane. As you can see, Faker is going to get first damage there with the distortion coming out, but Chovy is going to be absolutely fine. And I'm glad that you had the conversation yesterday about the Zoe versus LeBlanc matchup, because it has been really interesting to track the fact that Zoe's sort of come back and nothing has changed all that much, apart from Zoe getting a few nerfs, if anything.
Yeah, Zoe for sure is considered one of the most popular blind picks because this matchup has become more contained, because people are favoring Zoe in the matchup played at the highest level. You have to hit the bubble, though. That's the thing. It's when LeBlanc looks like aggressive trade, post 6, you hit the bubble, you win. You miss the bubble, you lose. Now, the only other kind of wrinkle around it is if you can just land the paddle stars, the health lead before the LeBlanc all-in comes in. Might be relevant as well. But I want to talk about something right here, Atlas. We actually saw the runes come up, and you might say, boring, Kalista versus Tristana runes. Notice the Kalista, not Kalista, I say Kai'Sa, has gone for press the attack. We don't often see this choice on Kai'Sa. The reason why it's relevant is that Tristana, with lethal tempo, can get up those stacks of the E very, very quickly, the explosive charge, and win aggressive trades. Why Tristana into Kalista was a matchup for a long time. The Kai'Sa's taken press the attack to fight back, so we might see some aggressive trading, and even in the jungle.
Yeah, speaking of which, Tarzan's going to get that Fear Tether, wants to clear out some vision there as well, but Safeguard is going to get cleared out of there. Has to use his warding totem, though, so a little bit of less vision in exactly where SKT wants it.
Not often you see no fleet footwork among 80 carries, and another notable difference, Teddy has gone teleport.
Yeah.
Which means Mata has to bring out the heal. No Ignite bot lane for SKT, but the potential to get better back timings than are available for Viper. This could just be about getting early Drakes, so being a first spawn mountain and having the TP advantage, if the ganks don't come, and we don't expect them from Tarzan early in the game, you get the better reset, you get the first Drake, and you actually get an objective snowball against the undefeated Team Griffin.
And have a look at this from SKT. One thing that we've been praising them for, especially in recent games, is their control of the early game to get themselves into great positions. And Tarzan has been spotted throughout his jungle route this entire time. That ward that Faker just put down, and also this one that's a little bit closer. Paddlestar is going to knock Faker into his passive. The Deceiver in a little bit of trouble here in the mid lane potentially, but to go back to my point, Tarzan isn't doing his general thing where often he can stay invisible on the map as a Nocturne in the early levels.
And didn't even need an Ashe. We often see Ashe as a compositional answer to Nocturne, to have that ability to spot him and his exact path. So team effort required, and like you say, definitely deserves to be rewarded for SKT's approach in the early game. Again, when they've had early game control, they feel like the dream team, and all the other hype that was put into the roster. They have had some super clean games. When that eludes them, things have definitely been a lot more wayward for SKT. So far, so good. Nocturne just waiting for his timings. And Griffin, I gotta admit, ever since 9.1 ended, they have been largely a slow team in the early game. They haven't been blowing people by, especially in game number 1 of a series. A lot of game 2s, they've just taken their wins from a game 1 and bulldozed, but their game 1s are very slow as they kind of wait to size up their opposition.
You can see Chovy coming over, thinking about contesting this Rift Scuttle, but priority on the top side. For Khan, a bit of a problem as Teddy's going to rocket jump forward onto Viper. An explosive charge will go off and even out that trade a little bit, but very aggressive bottom side.
For any window to get a back timing that they can take advantage of, and remember the teleport there. Tarzan is looking for a level 4 gank not spotted. All the vision was placed topside, remember. How much will Teddy and Mata reset? They're showing so much respect to Lehen's walking up, and the fact that for the first time in the game, they don't know where the Nocturne is.
Yeah, but that's absolutely fantastic heads-up play to make sure that they can...
That was actually super heads-up by Mata. They expected the interrupt in the back, and he actually twitches the E to make sure that Teddy's recall fully goes through. And that's not just a recall, it's a big one. He now has a BF sword lead and a huge mana bar lead, so what do we talk about? Getting better back timings to vindicate first pick Braum and TP Tristana. That should get them Drakes. And the Drake is going to be leashed, but for now, not started.
And also, remember, this is a heal onto Viper as well, as Lehen's almost gets stunned up, and Viper does stop the back. So look at this. This means that Viper's going to have an item disadvantage for so much longer, because Tristana has the ability to keep you under turret for a very long time.
And now we're seeing a plan come together. How many people were what facing the first pick Braum? Why are they doing this? Can easily go into heal and get through the lane. The TP Tristana and Braum lane is what they were considering, or whatever 80 carry fifth the mold. And it's gotten them huge priority around bot, usually a boon for Griffin. Now very much on the back foot, dreading a back because they know that Drake could go in an instant.
And Griffin decided to do this, remember? They picked up the Shen in the second round. It was their answer to the Braum. and then picked up the Kai'Sa as their power pick, but this is a Tristana that looks like an early game pick. You can see already 2 turret plates are going to evaporate 7 minutes in. This is just huge priority being acted on here for SKT, and I can see rubbing your hands together, Papa Smithy, because we certainly have a series on our hands.
And it's SKT doing new stuff, but it's being pulled off in a way that the bot lane awesome dudes like Casio were not working for them against Griffin the first time. Already they've come in with a cogent plan and they're playing to it. And Griffin have gone for the sort of passive comp that can't really punish. Not a level 3 jungler that can come bot and say, all right, you're teleporting first time at 4 minutes. You're not getting a preferential back time. Even Braum, using his Unbreakable to allow the Tristana recall has been relevant because it's one of the big reasons they have a 2 turret plate lead.
Well, Tarzan's going to have his back stopped here as Fear Tether does get broken, as the Umbral dash is enough to get through the wall. Is cleared, gets the kick, flash, Chovy, Resonating Strike is in there, picks up a flash though, and gets himself out. Has to use his own in the play though, so that is flash down and a successful gank for Clit.
Only a single summoner from Chovy. He did not have to use his cleanse, but does mean that LeBlanc all in is going to be much more terrifying, and the just hit the bubble meme is now even more important. Griffin going to steal away the scuttle. Remember that Shen can, of course, taunt those camps, and that means you can just burst it down in one rotation. They'll back away from there. Lahen's still level 5. Eventually this game will be 1-3-1, and Shen trying to pile on, but LeBlanc should play those side lanes better than Chovy, even with Shen-O. There's a deep ward that might even deserve a name, Atlas. I'll give you name duties, but see if Chovy checks it now. If it lasts another minute, I think you're going to have a good name ready, because that might be a big boon for SKT.
I already have one. His name's Anthony.
Well, Anthony the Ward does give them the exact timings here, and it's an extension of the vision on Nocturne if he does path around it. Teddy and Mata continue to push. Only a 5 CS lead, but remember, turret plates are a thing in 2019. That's 320 gold. That's plenty of CS lead implied in this bot lane.
Yep, exactly right. One thing that we do have to note is Paranoia now available for Tarzan, so this push-up from SKT is not going to be as easy to pull off. So these last 3 turret plates might be more difficult to get unless Teddy can play around a teleport as beautifully as he did in the earlier stages of the game. That's yet to be seen. As I want to talk about this top lane matchup. There are so many matchups that we want to talk about here in this this particular game that it's hard to get to top lane because it's not necessarily one that has a lot of, you know, fan hype around it. Khan versus one of his great friends in Sword, but Khan has been playing so much better over the last 2 series. Their 2-0s that they had against Genji and Kingzone were absolutely beautiful. It was Riven, Fiora, it was the Vladimir as well. He picked up so many different champs and of course went back to his Jace in the last series as well. This is a Khan that feels like he's leveled up over recent weeks, and already we can see does have a big lead here on the top side against the nerfed Urgot.
I mean, we remember last time there were some big solo laning mistakes from Khan against Sword, and it's something that's happened to him here and there, especially in the first 10 or so best of 3s, which is how many Griffin have played, but this will be SK Telecom's 13th, I believe. Because of that, we're looking to see if he can keep up his level performance. He's gone purely for lane. This game, the moment it started, you could tell was going to be top lane completely isolated. As that was a chain.
Longest chain I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, only an Urgot ult chain I've ever seen to be longer than that one. But Khan has gone Resolve Tree, he's gone Grasp. His job is to just take the good trades we're expecting, given the balance level of Urgot being toned down so much in this match, and maintain a pretty decent CS lead while pushing the lane. Do you need a moment for a eulogy? Or
I wish I hadn't have named him. Now it feels too real.
That's why we make things personal here on the LCK. One of the best things Monty and Doa did back in the day was really hype up the names of players, the Immortal Score, adding those little markers onto, you know, Korean players who couldn't speak for themselves in English. So we give people names here, and wards of people.
Well, now we're going to be even more sad as they do go down. There's going to be certain cannon minions that we're going to name as well.
Banner of Command is gone. Chovy's health bar not. His flash is going to be up in about a minute and a half. It hasn't been something to return to, but little things are going a long way. 2 turret plates in the bot lane, a CS lead in the top in a completely isolated matchup, and LeBlanc actually winning in CS next to a Zoe. Yesterday,
it's 3 winning lanes for SKT.
Exactly, and yesterday, this matchup was about a 30 CS lead for Zoe. So we're seeing that with the attention to mid and Faker having a good performance, the early game better than expected at 11 minutes. Remember that Griffin have by far the highest gold difference at 15. It's around 4,000 average lead at 15. Right now, they're down gold.
Exactly right. So we'll see whether that's going to continue for SKT. At the moment, not exactly a huge number. Tristana comes back to lane, building towards Zeal item by the looks of things, the classic Tristana build, where you just want to get as much attack speed and damage as possible, because that's the best at taking down turrets.
This first Drake, later than we would have expected, given the priority. Could have been around the time the turret plates will be taken, but it will be Mountain Drake around the strong lane for SKT.
Yeah, need to talk about how good the Mountain Drake is for this particular composition as well, because what does Tristana do? She kills turrets really, 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 really well.
She's pretty good at killing champions too, but I take your point there. Baron threat pretty good from Tristana as well. Seeing a bit of map splitting here as Nocturne was topside. I want to mention that we do see the BF Sword double pickaxe build at level 9. This gives the evolve on Q.
Yes.
And that is pretty standard thing, right? On AD carries.
Prediction. The crowd.
There was a prediction. There was no ward there from SKT. The reason why I bring attention to this is not to educate fans on the build, because it's now pretty common around the world, but to remember, at level 9, when you get that increased Q damage from all the extra missiles with press the attack, that is insane burst that if you don't remember the keystone, if you don't pay attention to it, might catch you out as any member of SKT.
Yeah, exactly right. Will actually give a huge power spike, like you say, so should be able to lane much more effectively. At the moment, we're not going to be able to check that one as Sword could be in potential trouble as Khan's going to dash on forward, but doesn't get the sweet spot knocker.
Tarzan actually doesn't know this has stayed leashed on the top side. It's, of course, a possibility, but the leash range is so long for Rift Herald, and this should be another objective. Happily leashed by Griffin and accepted gleefully by SKT.
Yeah, Clid's going to be able to lock that one down. Both Dragon and the Rift Herald going over to SKT in this early game. Where have SKT been strong? It's early. Not necessarily Griffin's MO, as they're going to start right now. Aatrox does have the World Ender, but Sword, he's going to put him in the grinder. That position is not where you want to be. He does use the flash to try and get out of the way, and that's just not quite long enough on the corrosive charge, and Khan gets away.
And you love the prize fight feel we have in LoL Park. Even Rift Heralds being claimed are being cheered by the SKT fans. Cheers are going to have to be held by Griffin. They don't get the answering kill, even though the setup was good from them. The all-in is easily flashed away after all. The Rift Herald in the mid lane pushes in. They're getting so much turret damage, no longer plates, but there's so much standing gold, soon to be claimed by SKT.
Yeah, and look at that clock, though. That is 14 and 15 seconds. Shelly's already dead. She was thrown down in the mid lane. That is so many more turret plates. Remember, SKT was probably one of the only teams that's been able to take every plate in the game. That was in the Kesper Cup. That was a long time ago. But SKT, the team that were able to get most of them, because have a look at the turrets on their side. It's basically new houses here for SKT.
Now, I can't fully confirm that it was during the turret plates being up. I actually didn't notice the timer.
It was.
That's good to know. So the turret plates there are probably the only reason there is a smattering of a gold lead. Now, this gold lead is kind of likely to balloon. The observers are showing us there's a lot of standing gold soon to be claimed with any sort of deep roam by the Lee Sin or deep vision to walk up. Because it hasn't been claimed just yet, the gold gap has actually stayed the same, around 600 gold, but blink and you might miss a sudden 2,500 gold injection to SKT's side.
Yeah, exactly. But now, what are they going to be able to do to bridge this mid game into a late game that Tristana might be able to take over? How do they get out of this Griffin team composition that we can see the identity of beautifully on paper, right? It's deliver a Shen into a backline and then follow up with your Kai'Sa when she can do it. If you can have Chovy land the right bubble around this sort of mid lane, if the ARAM is going to come in, something like that. I mean, it's so clear how Griffin are going to win fights as we move to the mid and late game. SKT, a little bit more finesse required in this composition.
But honestly, it's not a super outscale 5v5 comp from Griffin. I give them the slight lead purely because they went Sword as Urgot last pick, ostensibly just to have the Fear Beyond Death and the ability to reset a team fight, take advantage. Just speaking of resets, we see Teddy just leap in with his lethal tempo lead. That is the first turret of the game. The gold lead finally does balloon. I think the Urgot over Aatrox team fighting effectiveness lead is kind of the only relevant difference. They have 280 carries that can both turn their positioning from front to back to go more aggressive. They have pick mages in the mid lane, and Nocturne and Lee Sin both a lot of backline threats, so maybe a little bit more dive from Griffin, but otherwise quite a lot of parity as the game goes on. So given that analysis, a gold lead sounds pretty damn pivotal when the comps are quite overlapping.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And I also feel like SKT have given themselves a lot of different ways to win the game as well. I mean, They can play split push with Khan if they want to. Faker, like you say, is going to be better in that side lane. They can play around the map much more cleanly than Griffin can with this composition, and that just suits SKT's style because that's been exactly how they've won games in 2019.
Watching on here and what it all means. Execution is going to be so important. SKT's already leveled up and then some. Very, very strong first 15 minutes of the game, but a very, very strong 15 minutes of the game against Griffin means you're not in a disadvantage. Means you're in a decent spot. Griffin don't get blown up in the early game. They just have been second best, so SKT rewarded for their start. But the items starting to finally come together. Infinity Edge is done for Viper, which is a relevant power spike. They're onto the Mountain Drake here. Will we see our first contest? Urgot lies in wait.
Yeah, SKT definitely want to get this double stack of Mountain Drakes as they are going to pick up the aggro. It is going to be Teleport coming in, answered immediately, but it's an earlier one for Griffin who want to get this team fight working. It's a fantastic stopwatch in the backline. Teddy dives into the back of the pit, but has to immediately exit. Somehow cleared. He's going to stay alive, and it's going to be Braum that picks up the first blood. But Griffin are still fighting. Khan has the World Ender, and he's going to be okay. Faker limps away from this fight, but he's on the wrong side of the map, and that's going to be the W landing from Viper. Doesn't have the ultimate, remember, so can't actually follow. That's going to be just Mata picking up a kill, and SKT still hungry. Mountain Drake did go over to Griffin, though, in all of the chaos.
And you see what Griffin want to do with this team comp. Their call is as clear as day. We don't hear it, but we see it. Kill Lee Sin is what the call is. The stopwatch value, like you say, is massive, and it stops that from actually getting them first blood. Now, they do get the Mountain Drake. Kill for a Drake ends up being the overall trade, and the kill credit going to Braum means the value of the kill is lower. So we'll watch the replay here. Wordless Communications, the famous meme about Griffin, but they just go straight all in to try to take him down. Stopwatch value, massive in this particular fight. Turn onto Chovy is the call from SKT, and that's where the kick is. Where the kick is kind of just get the damage in there, keep Zoe in the fight. Zoe goes down, kill credit to Braum. Mountain Drake goes to Griffin. Now both teams have quite a lot of Baron threat as the game goes on.
Yeah, exactly. Not a lot of stopwatches remaining as well. There are broken ones in the hands of both of these junglers, as SKT may have found Sword. Good knockup comes down, has to flash to get himself out of the way. And it's going to be a big deal as now SKT a lot of control topside.
And the roam timing is great from Faker. The minion wave is pushed in. They don't even lose minions, and they blow an enemy flash. That's the freebie. The side of SKT. Lane assignment here. They see some armor in Sword's build, and they say, deal with Faker on this LeBlanc. And we already mentioned this. You're always so much more flexible in the side lane with the LeBlanc compared to the Zoe, who just wants a blue buff and some grouping to happen. She's a 4-1 champ. And Faker can excel in both the 1-3-1 and the grouping phase as needed.
Yep, exactly right. And I think that's a great way to play around Griffin. They pride themselves on being basically one mind. You were talking about the calls from Griffin, but often they just know what to do. They don't need to talk about it in these team fights, and SKT have the option of just not playing into it. They can just play around this map and just win in side lanes with a better team composition at winning that way.
And the builds here are so overlapping. If you actually just cast your eyes to the items, there's so many mirror item builds, much parity between them. Working on a Guardian Angel, both junglers, for example.
Yeah, top lane finishing off their Black Cleaver at about the same time.
Second item completion on Viper, one of the few things that is not overlapping between the two. I think 2-item spike goes to Viper. I think the 3-4 item spike starts to go with Tristana, and then it's going to be about execution from there, I think. Tristana's only true advantage over Kai'Sa is in the sieging game, is of course rapid fire cannon, the levels come in, and you're going to get much more pot shots at the enemy turret than Griffin will.
Yeah, Teddy certainly will be able to shoot things from a long distance with that draw a bead passive coming in. Void Seeker not going to land there as ward down from Griffin knows exactly where this top jungle combo is.
Khan steals away the blue, and that removes Zoe's ability in the 4-1 to poke more reliably than the LeBlanc. Looking at the lane assignments here, shielding the Zoe from being dictated to and just being able to execute in a long lane is what you're looking for. So she's in the side lane with the outer turret. You need that safety. Otherwise, the flanking on the Zoe is way easier than when she's 1v1 in mid.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing that I want to look at here, just to get a bit of an idea of what SKT's mindset is the forward vision that they've put together for themselves. How often do you see a team that actually has forward vision against Griffin after 20 minutes? Basically never happens.
And you know what else you see? Look at this inventory from Griffin. No control wards. If you think about what Griffin do have reliably, the SKT can't match, is they delete someone really fast. They press the attack. Kaiser's the confirmation. They're looking for the picks, and the Urgot last pick also. So actually being able to walk up and get those picks right now is impossible. They need a reset where they can finish some items and get some control wards, because the map vision lead is one note to SKT. And if I'm doing a VOD review, I pause it here and say, Griffin are completely allowing SKT to run the game as fast as SKT wants. SKT is the driver, and Griffin is the noisy passenger trying to backseat drive.
Yeah.
And SKT can get a lot on the map. While that's true, I guess Griffin are just relieved that the Drake is a low roll and it's a Cloud Drake.
Yeah, they're just waiting for SKT to pull over, finally.
And that could be a mistake, or that could just be an inevitability of time. And that's what's happening in this game. It's taken a while, but they finally engineered a full reset. It is a Rage Blade timing with no control ward from the Kai'Sa, but the Rage Blade timing does mean Viper is finally team fight ready.
Does mean also that Teddy can play more aggressively as well, because he's managed to fit this stopwatch into his build a little bit earlier. Just threw down his control ward there as well. Looks like he's going to be going for the double seal as Faker predicts Chovy, but that's the flashing from Lehens. There's a distortion though. Faker is going to be absolutely fine, and I love that play from the SKT mid laner.
But you can see that Griffin are getting a bit feisty. The taunt flash there is a big investment, given that Chovy wasn't actually in position to full channel a Paddle Star and get a reverse kill there. There was actually lower kill threat than Lehens anticipated, and that's a small mistake from Griffin that shows they're being a little bit frustrated, a little bit accelerated. And this is a Griffin with 2 weeks since their last stage game, and I think for the first time we're seeing them look a bit mortal. They seem a little bit off the pace compared to before, when they decided the pace at every moment.
Precisely. Well, Faker's not going to be able to chase down Tarzan, who you can see still relatively squishy on this Nocturne. Is always a bit of a problem for him before he gets that Guardian Angel for the extra life in these fights. Still, you have to look at Griffin and you know that they're going to be able to team fight extremely well. Whether they can in upcoming fights is going to be the question, as Faker doesn't find the chain, but it's all just playing interference for Teddy to get things done. That's outer ring of turrets taken down in response to just one from Griffin.
And the SKT platform here is one a lot of people know. Yes, we can is their platform. They have double Guardian Angel, strong mid-game spikes to walk up at every moment. Griffin have been so far behind in terms of map control and putting down wards and actually forcing SKT into anything. So can you group up for a top lane turret SKT? Yes. Can you stop the Baron SKT? Yes. That is the mindset they need to be in, and that is where SKT have looked most potent in the 2019 spring season, when they've had the ability to trust their aggressive calls. If they get into a mid-late game and they don't feel equal footing, I think SKT have made a lot of mistakes, but there isn't too many cooks in the kitchen right now. They understand that where they're at, all their items shape up better. And we already said the team comps are pretty overlapping.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see whether they can close this one out, because remember, we have to warn you that 8,000 gold is the lead that Hanwha Life had over Griffin. And Griffin won that game. And as you mentioned before, that was with a pentakill as well, the only one for the season here in the LCK. So certainly, you cannot count them out in any form, but I just love the fact that this is so close in the early stage of the game, and SKT are giving Griffin an actual challenge for what feels like the first time here in 2019.
And I actually don't feel like it's close. I feel like SKT are very on top, because think about the things that Griffin have done this game that have achieved things other than not lose by a lot. They've been able to split some scenarios, but they haven't really taken anything. If I was able to draw on the minimap the line of SKT's control, it would extend to the blue buff of Griffins. I feel like SKT will have first control of that, with Aatrox pushing up aggressively. It's half the jungle camps. You have that Raptors and red buff are kind of up in the air when it comes to Griffin's camp, so it's kind of 65% of the map controlled by SKT from their smart aggression, and it's Griffin history that we're giving credit for. It's not Griffin gameplay today. They haven't done anything this game. They've only had that reputation, and I hope SKT is playing with nameplates off and just playing out the game that's in front of them, because the game that's in front of them, they're winning.
They are. By a long way as well. Teddy does have his second Zeal Faker gets hit by that trouble bubble, but I think he's in out of range. It's Clid gonna get the flash, but Supercharger's there for Viper, and he gets himself out of the way. Made Clid look a little bit silly, but that's just incredible Twitch reaction.
And that's just a micro outplay getting something. Finally something has gotten this, the flash from Clid, and now Viper gets to be 100% confident that with that backline access gone, he will pick his spots the next fight and probably be fine doing it.
SKT, the first fumble so far of this mid-game.
A micro one, but definitely the sort of thing that gets in the mind of a player. The moment you mess up a moment like that, you wonder if next time it will go the same way. But there's still so many Guardian Angels here. Guardian Angels really big for the Lee Sin and Aatrox because they can get the forward vision and clear out control wards. It's so much harder when, if Brahm's not there with an Unbreakable, you might just be dead instantly to the burst damage that Griffin have put together.
Well, when are we going to start talking about this being Zoe's time on the map? Because we know mid to late game, it's all about can you get in a good position to land these bubbles. Currently, we can see Chovy on the top side of the map just splitting as best he can on this pickup, but we know this game is going to evolve to a point where Chovy is going to be incredibly pivotal, and this guy's been so good for this team.
I'm with you there, and I think the item point is good now because you can walk up to LeBlanc a bit easier with the Banshee Veil, but Atlas, the phone tree is still there for SKT. Every time Chovy comes somewhere, he's being announced. His arrival is announced. He's not getting the ability to fish with the bubbles. When you have map control and Zoe's hit her items, she's one of the strongest champions in the game. There's a reason she's first round in almost every draft we see at this balance level. But in this game, where the map control we've already mentioned is SKT's big win in the early game, her announcements have taken away and curbed her strength in this game. So right now, because she's so far behind in terms of front pace, it is struggling. People like Khan can walk up and get free damage.
Yeah, it's a great knock-up, but good spell shield there from Tarzan gets him out of the way. Viper does want to be aggressive as Sword's looking for the flanking play, but Lehens almost just dies from one round from Faker and Sword. He has to back away. This is Infernal Drake to SKT, guaranteed, and they're not going to lose anything.
And this is what happens when you have map control. Everything goes right and you can contest, else SKT get an objective. A free Infernal is not something Griffin would have been looking to surrender. Now is the time to stand and be counted. 3 items on both AD carries. There's no more waiting from Griffin. We don't think they have an insanely massive scaling advantage, and they pull the trigger.
Oh, Paranoia is coming in. Sword gets into a great position with the flash. Gets Faker out of the way. Distortion even further as now the trouble bubble lands onto Khan. The re-engage though from SKT is Sword. Very, very low. Stopwatch keeps him alive. Spirit's Refuge from Lehens as he's buying so much time in the back line. The flash forward Martyr doesn't get it as the Purge Shield comes up for Sword. Now Khan with his stopwatch gets himself out of this fight, and there are no kills just yet. This is just ridiculous. Just Lehens falling.
Chovy chasing.
As Chovy, looking for it. Faker's going to stay alive. Guardian Shield is going to help even more as the Guardian Angel is going to be in there, and now Sword looking for the backline. Where is he going though as Khan? He's over the wall. He's backing, and now Chovy might be in trouble. Oh my goodness, Teddy grabs it with the explosive charge, and now Khan cancels his back Clid, gets on in there, Infernal Chains, gets the pullback, and the Urgot could be going down. 4 kills looking to be on the line now for SKT.
They're able to pick up 3 kills in a single fight. SKT rout in terms of the kill score. Tristana will go back. Love the re-engage from Teddy. So aggressive and bold on the back end to assassinate Viper. A long, crazy fight that's restarted a couple of times. We go all the way to the beginning. It's all about a flank timing. They know they can get Tarzan and the Shen and Urgot into the back line, but because they've got nothing started in this game, they don't actually have the Fangs behind to get the first kill. And then it looks like it's going to be a trade of Lehens and Khan. Khan goes in as a 1, Lehens in the back line as a 1. You would have given the advantage there to taking out the top laner rather than taking out the support, but the stopwatch at the end actually immunes the fear beyond death. And then we think, okay, now surely it's over. But it's never over when it's SKT versus Griffin. Chovy, watch the health bar here. He falls to single-digit health, but only the little shield from Lee Sin.
Martyr for the Guardian Shield.
And the Lee Sin, I believe, also. Got the W in on there. Sword comes with a flank. Teddy smartly knows Sword is out of position, and it's all-ins on Viper. 2 autos, and the explosive charge and not to pick up the kill. SKT, they use their early gold league. They don't over-respect Griffin's penchant for great mid-to-late game team fighting. They just focus on the game that's here today, and it's a game they're winning.
Yeah. And it was absolute finesse in this team fight as well.
리콜하고 바로 뛰어, 리콜하고 바로, 리콜하고
바로
리콜하고
Just amazing stuff. So we're already into a fight. Klid's going to get taken down here by Viper as Griffin are looking to turn this game around. That's a great trouble bubble landing on Amada, but he stands behind Teddy as they're going to try and go back for this one. Khan does find Tarzan on the back end, but the fear is going to tether. Amada goes into his stopwatch, but remember, it's a 4v5. Guardian Angel does go down, as now Khan dives into the front line. Faker can't find his way in. Griffin lose some health bars, but otherwise, it's a positive trade.
It's a really notable moment. Look at the gold lead right now. It's 6,500 gold. It would have been 7,000 plus as that fight started. And Griffin found an advantage, a 1-0. We're going to have to see the replay to understand how it came together. But
well, Baron actually fell in favor of SKT as well, while that one did. Get replay for you guys.
There was a lot of meanwhiles it turns out.
Yes, absolutely.
We're going to go back to how this fight happened. So the Baron is something that happened off screen, and this is just loading in there. So it's a kill against Baron, still obviously a big advantage, SKT. But we know Griffin will pull the trigger. They don't need introductions. They don't care about Baron buffs. They get a single Baron buff, but it's not actually a relevant one in terms of how the game will play out, because you really want to get a side laner's Baron buff off to relieve side lane pressure. They don't get that here, and that means that Baron's still worn for a minute and a half.
Yeah, as soon as it's not Khan or Faker, then you're not exactly super psyched about removing that Baron, but still, they'll take whatever they can get, and that is going to protect them from having 0 kills so far this game. Only 5 as this game goes on, but you can see in that Dragon column, an Infernal and a Mount over to SKT is just huge for this late game.
So apologies on the long replay, obfuscating the Baron there. That, of course, led to a bit of an interesting turmoil, but the fight was so tight that, of course, we had to go through it. Zooming in on this moment, though, and like we mentioned, Klid comes up, but it's with Baron buff wherever he goes, right? Mid, top, or bot. There will be a Baron buff in that lane because SKT can flex the 3 lanes and just double down on Chovy's inability to be relevant in the side lane, which is the natural byproduct of the Zoe versus LeBlanc matchup. SKT have been so proactive in a way they weren't the first time these two teams faced. If those are the only 2 matches you watched of the LCK, SKT versus Griffin, then to SKT Griffin today, you definitely would see the night and day change. Griffin kite back. They're not out of this one, as we well know. But when it comes to getting anything other than a miraculous team fight, it should never happen. SKT have complete run on that.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to take their second Mountain Drake here, making basically the Elder Drake and the next Baron that's still going to be active on the SKT players for another 20 seconds. It's going to make it almost guaranteed for them, because you just kill it so quickly. Infernal plus Mountain Drake. We've been talking about it time and time again. Worldwide, it's just disgusting. And Teddy is level 16, does have 4 items now completed. Lord Dominic's regard will mean that Sword has to be terrified of this Tristana as well, as Voidseeker going to miss Khan.
Moment flashes up, Atlas. How do you ever get to him? He's got Buster Shot, he's got Rocket Jump, and even with Strong Dive on Griffin's side, he's Tristana with his long range. So at the end of the day, so hard to have any threat onto this high damage Tristana. Meanwhile, the job for Viper is so much more of evaluating every cooldown and choosing your moment.
Well, Tarzan is in flank position. Khan can't quite get to this fight, but they are going to break open the base. SKT, it took them a while. They don't even have the Baron buff yet, but they do break open the top side.
Yeah, one chance is Griffin. Oh, this game is over, Atlas.
Exactly right. Tarzan hasn't pressed the R button yet. Chovy hasn't landed the bubble that he wants, and Sword is basically out of this fight. Griffin needed to start something, but then their top laner lost all of his health bar.
Exactly. Things just not coming together here. Teddy will take a bit of poke, but not going to be relevant. SKT choose when to push up and when to back away. That's something to remember. Griffin do not choose anything. Where the game lies right now. Zoe from behind looking way more balanced, even if Mada will maybe be one to contest that point. Can they fully disengage here? They got a lot of hop and skipping and jumping. Definitely some hopscotch being won by SKT.
Oh, yes.
As they escape. Notice that gold lead. It's around a famous number for Griffin, and Chovy might be dead.
Yeah, Mimic Distortion is going to land, but the chain isn't, so Chovy's going to walk away with his life. Still had the cleanse available, so I don't think he was dying just there. Griffin now looking to try and get back before this reset and get themselves the outer turret in the mid lane, but SKT say, nope, we don't need control wards. We are going to fight you away from this objective. You're not getting any more than 1 turret.
And the Baron spawns in 50 seconds, and right now SKT have no control there. So that's why you want to keep SKT on the map as long as possible, and then say, well, you got no wards, how are you going to contest for this Baron? But they're not strong enough to actually force SKT to do anything, so SKT gets the reset, the control wards will fill up in the inventory. No longer can the LeBlanc or Tristana contribute, but there will be the access to 4 at the present. Meanwhile, on the side of Griffin, they're going to need to go for that reset because their control wards will be taken out. Reason why we zoom in on this has been very pivotal on
Yeah.
recent game decisions, but also given that Griffin really can only play around Baron well at this point. They can't really match a pretty mirror team comp in terms of 5v5 without a big Zoe pick or a big pick in general being the reason they find an advantage. So they really need the vision to find that Zoe efficacy that you asked me about 20 minutes ago and we still haven't seen because they've never been able to get a vision lead.
And you also almost need to have a control ward in that pit as well, because the Baron's going to go down extraordinarily fast. Double Mountain Drake and Infernal and a Tristana.
Yep.
Yeah, that purple worm is not going to last very long on this map, so they need to have almost permanent vision in there. Glid's going to be standing on this ward here for Griffin as he does sidestep. Chovy's not landing the bubbles that he needs to, and speaking of which, Sword's going to take so much damage. Garbo Stoneplate, is it going to be enough to actually keep him alive? As here's the re-engage. Tarzan dives into the backline, but Teddy is going to be able to kite him out. Sword is out of this fight, he's got no health, and the kickback just for the disengage. The grinder is going to come in, but there's a GA, and now Griffin do regroup. They do get themselves together as that taunt onto Khan was exceptional, and now Teddy gonna get knocked up. Lahen's destroyed in the backline, and it's actually Teddy that throws the auto attack. Now Chovy taking damage, and the Tristana with 2 kills in this fight should be able to help destroy the Griffin base.
Two teams fighting at such a high level in the team fights, both of them understanding when they can go in and when they have to respect. Teddy able to re-engage. They're going to get 2 inhibitors out of this. I don't know if Griffin can mount a defense, and Braum in the front should make it guaranteed.
This is absolutely beautiful from SKT. They're playing around their composition so beautifully. They're playing around their win conditions, their timings. This is what we wanted the first time we saw this matchup. Absolutely amazing stuff for SKT. It's a blind Baron start. Griffin have no idea. Void Seeker not even going to get there, and the purple worm is going to belong to SKT, much like we assumed it would.
And so much of this game is a byproduct of the early game. The comps were not the answer here. It's how good SKT played proactive League of Legends and have forced Griffin into lose-lose scenarios. Sword is half health before this even starts. He's Urgot. You know, that's something that's tricky to do even after the nerfs. They have to re-engage here, otherwise Urgot dies for free, and then it becomes all about zoning, all about how many abilities we have to respect when we go in or when we fight back. Khan sniped out there is the only reason this was even competitive, as it allows Griffin to play front-to-back team fighting more than they should have, given the balance level. By the way, picture-in-picture is an Elder start. It ends up being pretty even, more than Griffin deserved. Now we're on Elder. Can they pull a rabbit out of a hat?
Yeah, it looks like they're going for this 50-50. Sword's going to come in with the smite. Paranoia does come down. Who's going to get it? It is going to be the Urgot, as now SKT have to fight with this disadvantage, but they still want it. It's still so much damage as Tarzan is torn apart. He still doesn't have his GA back up again, and SKT are going to have the man advantage. Good stun is going to come down. Stand United, not enough, as Chovy is eradicated on the back end, and now Lahen's, he's relegated to just trying to buy time for Griffin. Another double kill for Teddy.
It's an emergency Elder Dragon just because they know with no map control, no inhibitors, they're going to lose it anyway. Unfortunately, that means SKT just take the fight. They make the right decision. They stand up to the Elder Drake, and they might just end the game right now.
Yeah, they're looking to. They will break open the base in all 3 lanes first, as this minion wave is going to conga line forward. Void Seeker often has to be respected, but not this time. It's 40 minutes. It's a level 18 Tristana. Only a few auto attacks, and these Nexus turrets are going to be history, and SKT may have made history now against Griffin. The second map that this team has ever taken from the Young Guns, and the Nexus will go down. SK Telecom are victorious.
SK Telecom T1 to the huge roar of Lowell Park will win game number 1. Like you mentioned, they double the best of 1 losses that Griffin have taken this season, but Atlas even bigger than that. They watched on yesterday as magic happened here, and finally we saw GRF find their first victory, and you know what they said? They said double or nothing. We're going to come in and mean another meaningful moment happens this week. They want to be the first team to beat Griffin in a best of series in Lowell Park, and what a way to do it. They take them down in game number 1, and Griffin was certainly second best from minute 1.
Absolutely. What I loved about this game, though, was we got exactly what we wanted. We had drafts that had clear identities from both sides. I think the Urgot pick was definitely weird from Griffin, but I don't think it's going to be something that's really going to change things here or there based on how this game started off. So we are going to get some of the highlights, but there are so many in this game.
We're going to focus on the last fight. Again, remember, both inhibitors are down for Griffin. So it's, well, we lose a huge Elder, or we fight around it and maybe our miraculous team fighting historically will be enough, but history means nothing in 2019. Tristana has no threat on her throughout this fight, so one stack Elder be damned. There's no escape for Chovy. Portal Jump's not going to get you to safety and flashes down. SKT chose their moments at the right time again and again. Teams have tried that against Griffin, have been found wanting. SKT actually do it, and that's why we've got one hell of a series for you, ladies and gentlemen, today.
Yeah, and now it's guaranteed to be just fantastic.
Yeah.
We either get Griffin coming back against an SKT that look extraordinarily dominant, or we get an SKT 2-0 and we ask what the heck this means for the global power rankings. For the LCK itself, it's just absolutely amazing. This series could not have started better, and I cannot wait for game number 2 to see whether it all just happens again.
Superman is only as relevant as his foes, and Griffin have had no foes this season. They've run the show and just had that one scratch from Sandbox. If SKT beat them, suddenly a lot of what we thought we knew is in doubt, finally, and it took a long damn time for that to be something we could say earnestly.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, there's every chance that Griffin just turn around and smash SKT in the next game. I mean, maybe tidy up some things in the draft, no more Urgots towards the top side.
Every what if is hype Atlas.
I know. It actually doesn't matter what you talk about because we just want to watch the next game no matter what. So stats are going to be up on your screen, of course. Teddy decimated in the damage done, and you can see this goal graph. If we saw this in a lot of other games, we would have started talking about other things. The podcast would have began, because this looks like a pretty elementary victory, but the way SKT did it and the fact that it's against Griffin made it so hyped the whole way through.
But as an SKT fan out there that can say, at no moment were we not winning this game.
Yeah.
Whether you watch the game or you look at the gold graph, it all comes together, and it all means that SKT had control from the early game, followed it through, and they won.
Yep, exactly right. So SKT 1-0 so far in this series. Griffin do have a chance to bite back in game number 2. I cannot wait to see whether SKT can do it. Is it going to be a 2-0? I don't know what that means. I don't think anyone does just yet, but Griffin not going to go down without a fight. So game number 2 will be coming up right after a very short break, guys. Oh my goodness.
Where were you when SKT beat Griffin, and is it going to be a series just a best of one? We all have to find out together.
Yeah, exactly right. It's just such an exciting ride to be on. Oh, I need to collect myself as well, so I'm going to go rest my voice, guys. Short break, and we'll be back for game 2.